store's epic.
Thank you, Jag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The treat to come in here and get to experience you guys putting this together and see the design. I mean, you can feel it just being in here, all the love and the intention that's gone into every step. And
Yeah.
you know,
I take myself back to like very early days, and we had an opportunity in Palm Beach. Like we've had a lot of opportunities, thankfully. And it was one of these things in typical Grayson fashion where, okay, you have a space. Okay, there's not a ton of rent. Okay, maybe there's a % of sales. You got to make it really special. There's nothing in it. Great. And so we're down in Florida, and I like basically employed everybody and anything I could find to help us get it done. Morgan, of course, you know, he's a part of the whole battle. So through like building the store, hanging pictures, hanging
Wallpaper.
this,
I was wallpapering the stores. Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have been.
That's all right.
No, but you're meticulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We work, you know?
Yeah. And so, you know, if you think to like the moments around building something,
yeah.
you know, if you had the opportunity to build your own home, like literally, and you could say to yourself, like, oh yeah, I put that there, or I did this, or we had this idea, or we, you know, that's pretty special. There's something that will always become nostalgic about that. And I think for us, this probably won't always be the case because it's not realistic to replicate. Maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe we can be different. But for us, there's something very endearing and very special and very unique and very blood, literally, sweat a lot, tears, hopefully not sometimes, you know, that we do.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And people like Morgan, whom were and are, but really at the prime of his game, professional golfer, you know, decides to chip in and, you know, take whatever power tool he can to help get the job done. And that's cool.
Talking about the inception of Grayson, I think maybe that's a good story to start, really. Like, I guess from where you and I kind of met. Like,
Yeah.
I want to learn about your childhood, where you grew up, like what inspired you to get here now. But like with the start of Grayson, like it has to go back into, since I was 15, Tom Nolan sponsored me with Ralph Lauren clothes as an amateur golfer.
Wow.
And then getting to know you over time.
Sure.
And through like the different photo shoots or parties with Ralph Lauren, or going in to see the mansion there, and just becoming friends over a 10-year period. When I was 25, my contract was up, your contract was up.
Yeah.
And then we had
Well,
to make...
the real sort of nuanced story to the whole thing is that, yeah, I got to meet Morgan when he was really young, and he was obviously, I think we all know this, like blue chip stud, the best ever, right?
Yeah.
#1 junior in the world, blah, 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 blah. We can talk about that all night. Anywho, so he starts wearing Ralph Lauren, and we had a lot of wonderful people who wore the brand at the time. Luke Donald being one of them. Maybe he was like #1 in the world or something like that.
At the time.
Yep.
Billy was making a charge. There was, you know, Scott was wearing it. He was playing pretty good at the time too. Langley.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah.
He won the NCAAs. Lefty. Has got an awesome career now. Talk about a stud. That's a funny story.
Yeah.
Is that something we talk about?
I don't know. Maybe not.
I really hope he's watching this. He'll be laughing so
Scott
hard.
Langley, we love you.
Oh my God. Anywho.
Good stories.
But yeah, I got to know you really well, I feel like, and I don't know, it became one of these things where you obviously, you know, if you like someone pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then you get close to them, and then conversations become much more than just like, hey, how was your game today? Or like, yo, did you like the clothes? What'd you think about this?
What was the fit?
Yeah. How'd that feel? Like, you know, it's like, okay. And then at that point, I don't know, it came something to the lines of, and this is my story, obviously, but, you know, hey, if you're ever thinking about leaving Ralph Lauren, let me know. And that was, like, I don't know, Morgan's always had this amazing ability to, like, be sort of like this person that thinks beyond and through things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And, like, he saw it probably before I saw it.
So before you actually had even come forward with the idea of starting Grayson, Morgan had said to you,
Yeah, a couple
hey,
of
if you
years.
ever want to do this, I'm in.
If you ever leave Ralph Lauren, let me know. Kind of
Wow.
thing. And like, I'm
Huh.
gonna come with you. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but sounds great. And I had no interest of leaving Ralph Lauren because why would I leave the most amazing place on this planet
Mm.
to just go somewhere else? There was never a moment of like the grass could be greener over there because that grass was always the greenest.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, but then, strangely enough, I had a child and motivations changed a little bit. Looked at myself a little bit differently in the mirror. And we started Grayson, and I remember like it was yesterday. I said to him like, this is kind of what we're doing, right? And you can choose to. I would say to you like, you have a great thing with Ralph Lauren. You should probably stay where you are.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm coming. Okay, great. Actually, that's not the truth. I kind of want that to be the truth, but the truth is harder, and the truth is really real, and it probably has made us so much stronger in why we are where we are. And so the truth is that I got courted somewhat by somebody who pretended to be a successful private equity venture capitalist. You could throw any sort of two-letter vocabulary or word at it in order to describe it, in order to romance it, and that they had bought a share of this one company, big share, the whole thing basically, was not based in the United States, and they wanted me to take it over and have a large equity percentage and get paid a lot of money and so on and so forth. And that entailed Morgan coming with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay Morgan this amount of money annually, and he's going to have a bonus and X, Y, and Z. And he's coming off of this crazy run where he shoots like 63, 64 on the weekend or something.
62, 63.
Yeah, sorry. 62, 63, 15 out of 18 holes. He was under par. It was stupid. Like, it was bananas. Double bogeyed like the second hole in his like whatever round, third round. It was like, but then he went like 15 out of the next like how many holes under par.
Epic.
Crazy. I remember like it was yesterday. Anyhow, and so he was hot. Like he was like, derelict kind of hot.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I remember.
Yeah. Hansel. Look at this guy. He's so hot right now. Anyhow, sorry.
Feeling it.
So hot.
Oh,
You
man.
see your hair? It's so
Your
good.
hair looks beautiful. That's great, man.
I just combed it actually. I was asked to comb it before this. So, anyhow, thanks, Tom. Needless to say, he was hot, and he came along, and we did this thing, and we did it for about 90 days. And over that 90-day process, there were so many red flags. But it's really hard when you say to yourself after doing something for about 12 and a half years that you're going to go out on a limb and you're going to do something, and by the way, you're not going to succeed. And it's going to be like a dead end, and it's going to be red flags everywhere. But what at that point, is it a red flag, or is it just a flag that you're trying to like pretend like it's not red?
Yeah, but it came to a point where like it wasn't your fault. It wasn't our fault. It was just the circumstances that we could have never seen coming. I mean, like obviously you say there's red flags. But, like,
Sure. I mean, could I have not been wooed? Could I have been less naive?
Yeah, but
You
like
ask yourself all those questions, but then you ask yourself like who you are, and like guess what? I may be a naive, but that's who I am, and I want to look at the best.
Yeah.
Right.
And ultimately it led to.
And I'm going to continue to do that. Yeah. And so, long and short of that is that this guy, he's with the Terminator in the final round at Bay Hill.
The Terminator.
Enrique Stanson.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was like 2015 or 16, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, not only was he a bonehead in that final round, but I went down there. I flew down there. I
Charlie's
was
very
there.
emotional when watching.
Fanboy. He's wearing this European brand, right? Like, oh my God, our guy's gonna win the PGA Tour event. Like, this is gonna be really special, and everything happens for so many of the wonderful right reasons.
So true.
It's crazy.
And he had some bonehead shots. He like putted it from the fringe once when he should have been chipping it, and then he chipped it when he should have putted it, and like just hit awful shots. It was just like it was
Very
awful.
uplifting.
I
coach.
had to go to the bathroom so many times just so I couldn't watch, honestly. And I'm down there with Tom Nolan, who's our dearest friend. And anyhow, so Morgan finishes up the round. Meanwhile, earlier that morning, excuse me, I had called this group and I had said to them, like, I'm done. We're done. The red flags had mounted to the point where it wasn't good for anybody. It wasn't healthy. I mean, I had been told that the money we promised Morgan wasn't going to happen. And at that point, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not in this if, like, we're not going to take care of the people that are taking care of us. And so after the round, he doesn't win. It's kind of this, like, meltdown moment. Sorry, love you.
Yes. Right.
Getting off the golf course, Tom and I are like, like standing there, like, not excited to see him because we feel bad, but, you know, I don't know. At the same token, like, we're there with him and walks off. He's like, I just can't talk to you right now. Just keep storming along. I'm like, whoa, sorry, Morgana. You know, anyhow, it's a little inside joke. Excuse me.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Just you're insulting me constantly right now.
Oh, really?
It's really great.
Okay, well, we're about to pick you up right now.
I love it.
It's part of the love.
Knock you down.
It's part of the
Pick up.
love.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah, this is our thing.
And so later that night, I get a text like, so sorry, I wasn't in a good spot today. Like, let's chat tomorrow. Okay, great. Chat the next day. What's going on? I'm like, hey, so, the whole thing that we were working on with this clothing brand in Europe, I pulled the plug on that yesterday right before this whole disaster at Bay Hill. That's stupid. That's not fair disaster. Because, again, it all makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It all makes sense.
Everything happens for a reason.
And this guy, at first he said to me, he's like, what the heck? And then he stopped himself. It was so flipping amazing. The awareness, the open-minded nature. And he said to me, okay, why don't you talk first? Why don't you tell me what's going on? And then we'll go from there. And I proceeded to say to him what I thought to be the case, which was I didn't trust these people, unfortunately. We weren't going to get the things that we were promised. And I don't really know what the future looks like because of those things right there. And if we're so far in, but we're not far enough where, and he said, okay. He said, okay, so what's the next plan? And I said, I want to start our own thing. He said, okay, what do you want to call it? Kind of thing. I said, I want to call it Grayson after my daughter. He said, sweet. I love that. Why didn't we do that from the beginning?
Exactly.
But I was like, yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah. Maybe I didn't have the
confidence in you.
Yeah, sure.
But it's hard to,
Yeah. And so we did that. And then, we went and raised money. And when I say we did it. We sold. We went to clubs together. I remember he was my fit model at Sabonic, at National, at Maidstone, at Friars.
Wow.
Everywhere in the Hamptons. Yeah.
Yeah. We were taking clothes out of the car, putting them on racks, showing them, putting them on. It's just part of the deal.
Did you have people who are members at whatever that you can introduce me to who I can raise capital through, right?
Yeah.
There was 2 people that you would introduce me through Arcola, which I raised capital through, right? And so when you think to the teamwork that went into that, and then being our ambassador, and then being the guy that literally was our forward-facing person, and I didn't ever want anybody but Morgan, ever. And I always ask the question early on, oh, do you want this person to come on and this person? No. Are you kidding me? I want to build my brand around this guy. This guy flies airplanes. This guy's a golfer. This guy's fun. This guy is thoughtful. This guy's smart. This guy, if you want to embody a modern day, I don't know, who would be the greats? Arnold Palmer, in my opinion, would be the great. Shoot. I couldn't fathom anybody more interesting.
Very humbled.
So, I don't know. Is that a big enough compliment?
That's incredible. Man.
It makes up for the shit talking earlier here.
That's what he does, man.
It's kind of bringing it full circle.
No, he's the best. He's one of my best friends of all time. It's just special. Jag and I have become close in the last couple of years, and
it's nice.
It's learning more about people.
Story's not over.
Still working.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. Gotta enjoy the journey. But no, thanks, man. You're the best.
No, you're the best.
I'd never do it without you or?
I was always so
always?
fearful too. Here's the best part. So like earlier in Grayson, so he's killing it right on the tour, and I'm like, oh God, Nike's gonna come at him with like X amount of money or whomever. Like I say Nike because I think they're like the biggest and the baddest and like cool and right, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God. I always think about like how he was just getting, and like I got so nervous about it. It was always this insecurity for me. Yeah, and I think the interesting thing, and I'll be really candid right now. He's obviously gone through what he's gone through, right, in his journey, and getting healthy and being aware of it first and foremost, then understanding how to respond to it, not react, and now in the midst of resolving it. That's a crazy process, right? Mm-hmm. I never thought Grayson would accelerate in terms of Morgan and golf faster than Morgan, right? I always thought we were going to hang on to him all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that honestly warms my heart is that I can do something special for him now with Grayson, not even having him playing golf. And that's the thing, like, that makes me so flippin' happy every single day, because now I know that maybe I don't need to be on his coattails, you know? So that's been fun to sort of maybe lead the pack a little bit from that regards.
Sure.
Because I was willing to sort of take second fiddle very quickly to this guy, because, I mean, honestly, when I say I've been around a lot of golfers, I mean, shit, I have. Man, that ball flight, that just sort of like that craziness, that flat foot, like
Flat foot.
it's like that. It's like, okay, that's not normal. You know, that's really unique. That's really special. I don't know if I want a partner at like Troon or something, but he's got that stinger too, which is wild. I don't know how you do that when you hit the other one straight up in the air, but that's like this. When you look at someone's short game, I'm sorry, I'm digressing now. I'm talking about golf. So. You look at someone's short game, and they got these nasty little shots. That's when you know.
Oh, yeah. He hit one today at Arcola.
Yeah.
On the, what was that, the first green? Yeah, the first green is a back right pin.
It was probably like some like.
No, the second green.
Second
par
green,
three.
The par three.
Yeah,
it was insane. It was this back on this back tuck pin, had maybe 10 paces to work with, way below the green, gets out to 62, and just flies it right there with spin. I mean, it was
64 bad to 68.
Right. right.
70 degree.
Anywho, so sorry, you asked me a really simple question, and then I sort of proceeded to like go down this like tunnel.
That's what it's about, man. Just sharing stories.
But yeah, no, Grayson and starting the company and being at the PGA show with Morgan and everything in between and all the experiences. There's a photo on the wall over there of him and I walking down the street. It was our first photo shoot, New York City, where we started. I was holding the umbrella for him. I still hold it for him today. I don't really know if much really has changed.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the best part.
That is the best part.
Yeah. So.
Well, I think about, seeing you guys sitting in here, getting to meet some of your team today, hearing the upbringing of this story, and then again getting to embody this space. I mean, it's a pretty incredible journey to think back to you guys starting this together, hearing some of that background, and now we're here and have this grand opening tomorrow with this store, an epic party. And maybe before we dive deeper into Grayson, where did this deep sense of creativity come for you earlier in your life? Was this something in your childhood that you were always a more artistic person, or were you more into sports? Where did it start?
School, so I grew up in Michigan. I grew up outside of Detroit. I love sports more than anything. Yeah. Didn't really have a lot of artistic avenues other than hanging with my mom, and she was really artistic, really creative. I feel like she did it on her own too. It wasn't something that was necessarily taught.
Artistic, like painting? Or?
No, like interior design, color, spatial, pattern. She would drag me on errands with her to like join fabrics and pick stuff out to reupholster it at the home. I want, this wallpaper here. And so she was a huge influence on me indirectly. But no education to speak of other than at Duke. When I was there, at my university when I was there, I probably searched for the classes that weren't like straight line kind of things,
Yeah.
right? And that entailed probably architecture and some art stuff, and I loved it from that regards.
At Duke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did my senior in high school though get into like a little bit of like a ceramics thing, and I ended up winning this like award, but whatever.
That's
It's not that exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I was in school, I went abroad when I wasn't there for the normal. In the summer I would.
Yeah.
And I went to art school in Italy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I learned how to take black and white photography, which I know some of my photographers will sort of scoff at. I loosely learned how to draw, but I never really was taught how to do that. Yeah, loosely learned how to do a lot of things. Yeah. And then, so no art background whatsoever. I moved to New York City right out of college.
Yeah.
With not much, with a dog and like whatever, and got a job at the Polo store. And then I was taught pretty much, with the exception of my mom again. My mom gave me the upbringing, but everything I know came from my work.
Talk about how you got hired.
Yeah. So I was looking all sweet in a 3-piece suit, standing at the Cashmere Bar. I had worked there for about 4 months. Mr. Lauren came in, and
The Cashmere Bar?
yeah, right when you walk in the mansion on 72nd Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, started in the Thai Pit, sort of an advancement of sorts.
But how'd you get hired there?
I walked in, asked for a job. I got all embarrassed, had to buy something, because I was like, oh. And then, yeah, they were nice enough to hire me. And then I worked really hard, though. I cared a lot. So I got a job there. And then Mr. Lauren came in, and he asked me a little bit about myself, where I went to school and some other stuff. And
Ralph Lauren.
then proceeded to, I walked all the floors with him. I shopped with him. He bought a bunch of stuff. He was the coolest.
Wow.
And then he asked me to, if I was interested in anything else. And met him in his office a couple days later, which, it's all freaking surreal. I don't even know how I got in the position where that kind of thing could happen to me. And they were starting this program called the Executive Training Program, which was a facet of every operation in the corporation. And you would rotate through it for a year. And they had closed it, but they said, hey, do you want to get into it? And sure. So I said yes, and I loved every second of it. And I did a lot of finance and ops in this. But I had this tiny little stint in design and this tiny little stint in creative services. And we helped open stores. And then I helped do some design with some sport-related brands. And I loved it. And at the end of the 12 months, I sat down with him for this, however many times. And the question was always, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer I gave him originally was, I don't know. And I was really honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why he put me in this program. And so at the end of that 12-month program, the question was, what do you want to do? And the answer was, I want to work in design. It's the foundation of your company, and it's where I felt the most comfortable.
Huh.
And so he put me in design as a design assistant, specifically with Polo, not Black Label, not Purple Label, not golf, not sport, not RLX, not whatever all the other brands are, Double RL, rugby, just Polo. And then I was able to grow really nicely from there.
Man. I think it's a really powerful time, though, to look back at when you were able to go to him and say, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, and for them to have a program in place where you could actively go throughout, learn the business. I mean, how much was going through those different areas of Ralph Lauren and learning about it operationally? How foundational was that to when you came to starting your own business? You could draw on those experiences of learning each department.
100%. I mean, I learned how to work in the bag room.
Yeah.
Right? When I sat down with Ralph, I sat down with him a second time with the head of human resources and the CFO, Roger Fair, at the time. And it was the four of us in his office. It's me. And it was one of those moments where, again, it became so clear to me, I think he knew how motivated I was and how passionate I was and how hard I wanted to work, but I just didn't know the right direction to go in.
Sure.
And how he was like, he's everything, because he basically put me in that direction, because it's so easily in life, people can go through it and not find their passions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's unfair, but it's probably 9 out of 10 times you go through life and you don't find your passion. And I got so lucky. It was like the first thing I fell into, because I don't know. Yeah. So
I'm reminded too, before we were starting, we were talking about, earlier in your life, you have these, kind of program time frames where you go to elementary school for, 6 years, and then middle school for 3, high school for 4, college for 4, if you're, in that step.
Yeah.
And then once you come out of that, suddenly, you've got this entire life in front of you. And so, when you're coming out of college, everybody asks you, oh, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do? Sometimes it's not easy to fall into that, like you said. Sometimes you're fortunate enough and hey, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to dedicate my life to, and people dive in. But
I always encourage our team, to that point. That's exactly what we were talking about. And like, my philosophy is like, you got to set yourself internal goals. You got to set yourself goals in life, because you become complacent and life just sort of passes you by. I think. And anybody on my team knows that about me, that I've done that, and I've asked them to do that. And even when we think to, and I'm looking at them right now, when we think to longevity around things or people moving places, it's crazy when you think about it for the rest of your life. I'm going to move to Detroit for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to do that. Tom, let's talk about 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Let's focus on 2 or 3 years, right? It could turn into 4. I don't want to belabor it. If you like it, great. If you don't, then, we can talk about how we make you happy in different ways, right?
Yeah. And so,
I think if we think about it, it becomes so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why people set 3-year business plans.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So.
So with Ralph, like, as your career progressed in Ralph Lauren, like, the stories you told me with when you lived in Bedford next to each other and went to his home, and you really became friends, and like, that must have been so influential on how you've created your life and business going forward, right? Like, there's got to be some crazy insight from him that.
Yeah, he, everybody knows this, who knows this is about me. When Mom passed away, he was there for me. He was at my wedding. He looked for my home for me, literally in the cars, which now we're using as this cool thing, because he inspired me, or he used to dress like his cars. He had all these cars. Drive a silver 911. He'd wear gray leather sweatpants and a cashmere this and gray flannel New Balances. And yeah, he was kind, he was fair, he was real, he was generous, but he was only generous if he saw that you actually went above and beyond. Right? Yeah, when I left, I cried for 2 hours in his living room in Bedford. And then the last 2 hours, he sat there with me and talked to me about how to be successful.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if I could love someone much more that wasn't like my mother or my father or part of my family. He's given me everything that I have right now. Yeah. So.
I remember meeting, the only time I met him was at your wedding.
He was so cool. He was wearing his tux, but he had a bad foot, and so he had his sneakers on. And everyone I remember at my wedding was like, oh, he's wearing the sneakers because it's like a thing? It's like a fashion thing?
Right.
I'm like, he's just wearing sneakers because his foot's messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, everyone would think that because he looks so great. And Ricky, his wife, is the coolest and sweetest. And Dylan and David, I mean, they're just so the best. Andrew, I mean, they're just all just a wonderful family. Jerry, who is his brother, was the head of men's design, and he was the most fun, vivacious, awesome, positive, wanted you to come into his office and have a conversation kind of person.
Special.
Yeah, that changes how long you want to work somewhere for, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You set internal goals within an organization now. Here's my 3, here's my 6, here's my 9 inside of Ralph Lauren.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's like, I don't know. There's comfort to that, but there's acceleration and like you're driving yourself without being complacent.
Yeah. Did he ever, in that meeting you guys had when you were deciding to go off and start your own thing, were there, I'm sure there wasn't doubts from him, but were there any like major cautionary tales or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say that everyone goes through those moments, me, myself, several times early on. Can't pay people this, that, you know, inventory, product's not right. Yeah, we work in a business, it's complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, I source a fabric here, we make it here, we ship it here, we ship it there, and then we ship it here.
Right.
It's bananas.
Yeah.
That doesn't even include like the amount of time it takes to design it, to think about it, and to curate it, and to tell stories around it. And what the marketing, not ploy, plan.
Yeah.
Plan being the real story around it.
Yeah.
Why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone deserves to know why we're doing something. Everyone deserves to know that there's a story around it. It's just not complacent.
That's what you're so good at.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's just not.
Yeah.
If it becomes complacent, it becomes lame. Becomes, I won't make bad analogies, actually. It's not appropriate.
Well, I always think you gotta have a why, right? It's like we live in such an age of abundance where there's so many brands, there's so many places you can buy from, and so when you can create something that has such a strong and vindicated why to it, right? And Grayson has, I mean, when I think of Grayson, I think of a living being. It's a way, right? I mean, this is a when you wear that wolf, I mean, it's saying that you represent the values of it.
That's nice. I love that.
How important was that to you from the beginning to really tell the story of Grayson and who Grayson was and is?
I think the story creates itself. I think when you try to tell it, it's not necessarily real because you can't tell a story that doesn't actually exist. My point being was that I think in order to tell a story about Grayson, like, we needed Grayson to become Grayson. And what that means is it's the people, right?
Yeah.
It's all of our stories at that point, right? And if it's just my story, then it's singular and it's kind of pointing in a direction that, you know, may not appeal. And that's fair, because that's and so for me, as we grew, I think Grayson became what it is, and that prescription of what you want it to be and what my dreams were when we started it, of course I put things down on paper for numbers, but I couldn't have ever made up the things that we've been able to do, and the projects and the relationships and the introductions and the
people,
the growth, it's bananas, the people who I not only respect so much as coworkers, but the people who I love and will go to battle with.
It's family.
Yeah. I mean, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you know, when you start, you can pretend that your story is this and that your values are this, but you don't create your story or your values until you actually have, it's like a child.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
We talked about that recently too in a conversation where, you know, at least I can relate to this. You come up with an idea and you get so fixated on how to bring it to reality and wanting it to be perfect. And I was referencing this graduation speech that Mark Zuckerberg did.
Right.
And he talked about how when the Facebook was launched, it was nowhere, near what it became to be even 6 months into starting it, And the point of the moral is like, you just have to start and the story will unfold itself as you start it, and people join the journey with you, and it becomes a living thing, right? It forms into what it becomes.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Some of my buddies back home early on would be like, yo, yeah, you remember the wolf pack? And they like make fun of me and stuff. I'm like, yeah, man, because like I started saying wolf pack, like, because I didn't start saying wolf pack. Like that wasn't my like marketing thing. Like, you guys are the ones saying wolf pack. But when you think about it now, I mean, like, take the wolf away, just call it the pack. Pack means a variety of different things. Shit. I mean, like, that's what we got.
Yeah.
I mean, we got that in like aces. I mean, you put us on, we are all stars. And that's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking about family earlier, telling me about Cece, how you guys met.
Yeah.
Your girls, Grayson and Coco. How and what has been the best lesson you've learned from having a family at the end?
Yeah, okay. Cece, who I love to pieces, I met at the office.
The raw
Actually, tour guide. Yep. And our relationship, which became more than platonic. Spencer, can you give me a drink?
Here.
Excuse me.
You got it.
Can you give me one of those thingies, please? Thank you. Those sparkling water things. So became more than platonic. We honestly tried to hide it from people in the company for like years, like 2 to 3, 4 years.
What was her position again?
She was in the women's side of conceptual design on the active side, RLX specifically.
Yeah.
And I remember we got to the point where it was like, okay, we should talk about this with somebody. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to talk about it with Ralph first. Because like I just feel like that's the most appropriate thing for me to do.
Nice.
Okay, great. So I go into his office. I'm like, hey, do you have a second? He's like, yeah, I have a second. Okay. So I sit down on the sofa and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to tell you something, and I'm ashamed I haven't told you it prior. But I've been very awkward about it. I don't know how to do it in a way that makes sense. And he's like, okay, yeah, what's going on? And I was like, okay, so I've been dating someone in the company. He's like, yeah, Cece. I was like, oh, what? Oh, really? How long have you known about this? Thank you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh, thanks, Spencer. Oh. Strange individual. Anyhow,
Spence, you're the best.
I was so relieved to know that he knew, and he was so cool about it. He was like, I love Cece. She's the coolest. I was like, she is the coolest. And so then we could talk about it at work, and it made our relationship that much better.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I never, thankfully, had a manager. We worked together. Spencer worked with her. Like most of my folks at Ralph Lauren, we all worked together. But it's interesting when you get to work with somebody, and then you're married to them. You kind of know what you're getting yourself into at that point. It's not like you're just hanging out at the bar all the time,
right?
You know, like there's kind of something to be said for that. So I think in our company, Ralph Lauren, I don't know if it was encouraged, but it wasn't frowned upon.
Yeah.
I was always scared that we were getting in trouble, but I was misconstrued. Yeah. So that's how I met Cece.
And then how long were you dating before you had Gray?
A long time. We are married 10 years. Our daughter's 9 years old. Dating 6 years before that. Gray was clearly an inspiration around the company.
Yeah.
And I would find myself kind of being a hypocrite and looking out at night with her in my hands, like the nights I was home in time, which was few and far between. And being like, oh, dream big and go chase things and blah, 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 you know, and just like, come on, man. And then, yeah, that became the moment for me where I was easily swayed to leave, which I would have never left in, I thought, a million years. Yeah.
I'm curious though, like with Grayson, because we talked about this with Don. I mean, he talked about when he had his first child, it being such a moment in time in his life where everything changed, and that it just became so real that he had this, you know, child that he was now so responsible for creating something bigger than just him. And I'm curious if like Grayson, in a lot of ways, was not just inspired by him, but also in the hopes that you create something, you know, as a legacy to your children too.
Yeah. I don't know if I thought about it. I think when you're in it, and you just got to get it.
Yeah.
And you don't have the luxury of thinking about a lot of legacies and things of that nature. I don't have the luxury of thinking about if my daughter's going to be proud of me. I just got to show her that I'm going to hustle, I'm going to work hard, and that's going to prove to her that she's going to be proud of me. It wasn't about thinking about all the other shit, the results. And it never will be, I don't think. You know, for me. But yeah, we all think about it differently, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And Coco?
Yeah, Coco's awesome. Coco's the sweetest.
She's the best.
She's
Number
such a
2.
cutie. Yeah, the Scarlet's her full
Inspiration
name.
behind
The women's line.
women's line. Yep.
Yep. Thankfully, I was able to tie that together, and I was end up having any more children, so there's no more moments of potential disaster as they grow.
Slow and lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, how do you beat having 2 healthy kids and,
Exactly.
you know, here with you, Jagger?
Amen.
Yeah. So,
And now with me having a daughter too, like it's just crazy to.
of course, I remember the whole, like, going into practice, he's like, oh, we're having a boy, we can feel it, we know we're having a boy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're having a girl, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was inevitable.
Yeah.
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 It's the best thing ever though.
Ever.
She's 10 months old now. Just started walking. She's so cute, man.
I mean, rightfully so, any girl dad is going to say, like, oh, the girls are the best. But, I mean, they truly are. And, like, honestly, sadly, for me, I will admit to this. If I had a boy and if he wasn't like I had to use the word stud, but like a stud, I'd be so disappointed. Like, imagine if he was, like, really bad at sports or something. It would be awful, right? I would be like, oh, man, that's a bummer, dude.
Just because you love sports so much.
Yeah, or like if he... man, I feel like it would just be a lot of pressure. Not to suggest I don't have the same expectations and pressure on my little ladies, but I don't know. There's a nuance to it. There's a love to it.
I agree.
There's a nurture to it that I don't think I would be as good with a boy.
Well, it's because
In a weird way.
I feel the same though. Like
But we haven't had boys either.
We both
But
grew up
haven't
with
had
dads
boys.
who have
Yeah.
been, you know, it's been interesting. Let's just leave it at that.
That's a really nice way of saying
Yeah.
it.
And but no, like being raised in a certain way, and then I was kind of scared to have a boy actually too. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, if I have a boy, I'm gonna be like so hard on him, or have to think he's gonna have to live up to some potential. And I'm like, that's so messed up. Why am I thinking that? That's not how it should be. But it's like ingrained.
And then why wouldn't
And
you not
it's-
think the same way about your daughter though too? At the same time, it's so messed up from that
Yeah,
regards.
no, it's crazy.
Yeah. And so, like, it's lovely to not, like, yeah. Anyhow, I have huge expectations, as I think you know, for my ladies.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Grayson's already has a hoodie with some of her designs.
So
on
does
it.
Coco.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Chelsea's favorite, my wife's favorite
I love that.
hoodie. She wears it. It's amazing. Man, it's I feel like we have so much more we can talk about. Maybe
Should I
we
ask you guys questions?
can- No.
No, you don't want me to. No, it's not my job. Okay,
No,
cool.
it's I feel like there should be a part 2 to this.
Take a back seat.
Maybe at a hoopy.
I could do that. fireside
Yeah,
moments.
that could be really cool.
Great. I love that.
But man, just like being in the store here in New York City, coming home is the theme around this. Today we had a photo shoot about coming back and trying to really portray that in these next coming videos for Grayson, and talk about like coming home back to New York City and why that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier, like that photo, like for me is everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I think to the surreal nature around us starting this and then having a badass space and the meatpacking, it kind of doesn't all click.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right?
So cool.
And then walking in here, and we love golf, clearly, but there's very little, like, literal golf product.
Yeah.
Right?
I was thinking that earlier, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow. What? It's like we've always set out to not be bigger than something, because that's disrespectful, but to accommodate for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so this, for us, for me at least, it it helps sort of tell that story, I guess, the one that we're still building.
Yeah.
And it's a part of the bigger dream. And when we think about like the stuff that you're wearing and the stuff that you're wearing clearly and the stuff that I'm wearing clearly, and the exception of Tom wearing Kiss shorts, which is so cool. Anyhow, it's really surreal.
It is surreal.
Honestly. It's surreal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's things you don't dream, because I don't think if you dreamt them, it's almost like egomaniac kind of shit.
Mm.
Oh, I'm going to dream. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have a yacht here. It's like, no, like you don't dream those things. Like, that's what I've understood, at least through the years, is like you just work your tail off and you keep yourself open-minded, and you have vision,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? You have ideas that hopefully are more unique and bigger than other people's ideas, and you can actually execute on those ideas, because that's half the problem with most people too. Yeah. So it is awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome being here.
I was thinking when you brought up a hoopy, one of my favorite stories with you at I think the second Pura Vida that we had, we were hanging out around a fire pit and all talking amongst the group, and you got up and left for a minute, came back with your journal. And, no, this is all true, dude. I remember it vividly. And you sat in your journal for a little bit and we're drawing, and then you showed us this picture, and I don't know it to be factual or not, but like a month later I get a Grayson email, and it was a shirt that it was pretty close to the drawing that you did that night.
It's feasible. Yeah. No, I mean, those things happen. Those things still happen a lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot of art created on the airplane on the way here today.
Really?
Oh, well, for the video. I mean, in my head, Spencer saw me. I'm jamming out different songs all morning because we're all brainstorming about what Morgan's video is going to be for this whole New York capture, for coming home, the return, in your eyes, open your eyes, Vanilla Sky inspiration. You remember we were joking about earlier, Penelope Cruz, open your eyes. Right? I mean, it's amazing. It's like, right? And then like through that clip, it's like Peter Gabriel singing, in your eyes, the light, the heat.
Yeah.
Anyhow, long and short of that is, so we're going through all these things, and finally I find this song that I love, and it lines up with the ideas that our team has come up with between how we be, and this is something we brainstormed about 3 days ago, how we be a little ominous out of the gates, how we be a little ominous, mysterious, dark, but then revealing, and then the concept again of kind of a voyage and a journey, right? Starting somewhere and coming home. And not to suggest that home is the finish line, but it's awesome to know that along the journey, you can always come home.
Yeah.
Home is a place that's called home for that reason alone.
Yeah.
You're always allowed there.
Yeah.
Right? And it should never not be that. And I think that we all look at it as like the finish line. It's like, no. Like, it's a part of it. And we call it that because, and we can call home a lot of different things. Right? Because you're always welcome.
Exactly.
and it's wonderful to be back here because I do feel like we are welcome, and the people who know us and like us, thankfully, will support us, and we love this city. I mean, I think anyone who knows New York loves it and hates it, you know? And I've lived here long enough, to live through all the emotions. But I do love it, and it's fun being home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the store turned out so well, too.
Yeah, it did.
It's a really sweet spot.
We have an awesome team.
Awesome team.
Yeah. Led by Mr. Spencer Bass. Yeah.
Infamous.
It is. He does an amazing job.
Does.
He does. I'm really impressed and proud of him. He's a newer hire. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, but he's been with us forever, though.
Yes. In spirit. Yeah.
I'm curious about. Journaling has become something that's crazy, a huge
I love that
passion
about you,
for
Jagger.
me.
I love that.
And it was originally like I always loved writing, loved reading books, but honestly, the book Green Lights, Matthew McConaughey's book,
Okay.
first really inspired me to like dive into just self and learning more and writing every day, because Green Lights was essentially a compilation of the journals that he'd wrote and maintained since he was 14.
That's amazing.
And it's pretty
I had no
epic.
idea.
And he took this trip and had this, all the boxes of all of his journals together, and got to relive his life essentially through all these real experiences.
Oh, man.
And I'm curious though how much journaling's been a part of your life, because I always see it with you, but I don't know how personal it is. If it's always work related, or
Yeah, no.
how much has that played a role for you?
Oh, man, it's I mean, these guys, I have 30 notebooks
No kidding.
since we started the company. Everything from numbers to notes to drawings to ideas to numbers to notes to ideas to drawings to this, every between. Ironically, though, I've never really, it's funny, my daughter, I talked about this earlier, but I was never an awesome reader, which sounds kind of pathetic, but truth. And my writing has always been maybe not fundamentally geared for those who really value grammar.
Okay.
A little more free, a
That's
little
a
more
really
creative.
elegant way to put that. Though. I mean, whether it was grammatical or not, it was really well said.
Thank you. But I fuck those people, honestly.
Right.
I love E. Cummings. Guess what? He made up his own fucking words.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't swear to you.
I love that.
Promise.
It's your journal.
Yeah, no. So for me, like when I write now, and thankfully, I was afraid of writing and I was afraid of reading when I was a kid, and probably because I didn't know how to do it the way that made sense for me. And so to your question, I love writing in my journal, and I love drawing in my journal, and I love doing my math in my journal, and I love taking notes in my journal, and I love being able to look back at them and be inspired by them for things moving forward as well.
Yeah.
And I do that on a constant basis. But again, it's more free for me.
Yeah.
There's serious organization to it, strangely. And I have different journals sometimes now for different reasons.
Yeah.
So like I have this one journal that is my, you want to see it?
Yeah, at some point. Love to see it.
Yeah, great. Hey, Spence. Thanks, pal. There are other people here. Excuse me, y'all.
They're part of the team.
Yeah. Well, I have one journal that's dedicated to our spiritual Sundays.
Yeah. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
I look forward to those literally every post that comes out for them.
Well, we did this Chronicles of the Wolf, and it was just the whole monologue, and I don't know how many chapters it's been at this point. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it. And it basically started as this way for me to say thank you and give some sort of validation to people who have been a part of Team Grayson that you may not know about, and it could be investors, to people who we've met along the way, to people who work for the company, and I created these mythological creatures, right, to sort of and to talk about that, and so as you will see, that's the Chronicles of the Wolf. I guess, am the wolf, which I don't know. That's kind of glorified for me. I should probably be like a squirrel.
Wow.
More of like a possum.
His handwriting's crazy,
It's
right?
epic.
And so as we go through the journey, blah, 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 right?
A journey into the unknown.
Yeah.
That's something.
And then the next page is actually the spirit wolf. So that's Morgan.
Wow.
Morgan is the spirit wolf. So I met this spirit wolf along the way, right? And you'll see how I met him and how he appealed to me and why he became a part of the journey and why he became my partner.
Wow. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
And these, do you end up sharing them word for word too? I mean, they come right out of this journal nearly.
Do some screenshots, but I don't know if we show the whole, like, the bits of them. There's a lot of them in there. There's a lot of them. And then we create product around them too, which is kind of wild. So I design hoodies and tees and hats and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, mostly hoodies. Actually, they're all hoodies. I'm sorry.
It's all the wall right here.
Yeah,
behind
so
it,
it's
too.
right there. Yeah. And there's characters in there that someone would have no idea who these people are. And they have been so wonderful to me along the years and helpful and inspiring. Like we have this dear friend who I call the Magic Golden Panda. Right? He's a dear, 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 dear friend. He's so flippin' inspiring. Yeah. The Sacred Owl. Man, that guy has taught me more than pretty much I could ask for in my whole lifetime. For free. Actually, he gave me money and he taught me. Yeah. Talk about that shit, right? The Cobra Rabbit. How many /rabbit cobra snakes have you met?
I haven't come across one yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my point. They're so fucking rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's one. Yeah. And this dude is so good.
Wow.
Yeah, so good. I mean, they're the people who are involved in this are really special. Yeah. But I got to write about them.
That's
so
beautiful.
My
Thanks for
journals.
sharing.
Yeah, my journals are esoteric and strange and almost children book like. And then I've got some other ones that are less like that, and then I've got some other ones that are budgets, and I've got some other ones that are architectural floor plans. For example, this space, we got this space sight unseen.
Nice.
And my associate, Mr. Spencer Bass, and I, we drew up the space because we had 3 weeks to do it, and we got her done.
I feel like most of the stores are always
Yeah.
just get it done. And somehow it turns out perfect and beautiful and like looks like it's been here forever.
You know, you kind of don't want the reputation of being the guy that, like, you're only going to be good if your back's against the wall. Like, I hate that. And I know that I get that sometimes. I'm like, flip. Like, my team, like, Charlie's going to leave it to, like, this. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah. This particular thing, we didn't have an option. Like, we got the keys on August 25th.
Damn.
So it's September 27th right now. And we have legitimately installed fixtures hanging from the ceiling over there, right? We have a slew of these remarkable Persian rugs from our associate in the city who's just become a wonderful partner. We have these beautiful, huge 12-foot long shelves. We have this freestanding metal fixture. We have a golf cart. We have a pool table that's custom made.
Full tables.
With Grayson fabric from a sport coat they were releasing this winter. You know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, that stuff is kind of complicated in like a 3-week span.
Very.
Yeah. So
Back to the team, back to the family.
Yeah, exactly right.
Supporting.
You've been here.
It's incredible.
Yeah, you folded, right?
Not very well, but I
Yeah,
did.
who cares?
I try.
You're great. You look great while you're doing it, though.
It's all that matters.
You look so good today, by the way. You should have seen his face on the High Line. It would be like, okay,
Trim
go
knife.
time, Morgan. He'd be like, I didn't do it. I didn't know.
You did it perfectly.
Wait, hold on.
Oh my god.
Anyhow,
It was so nice to have Kai out there today. She's so good.
she's so
Like
good.
she helps so much.
She's
Yeah.
awesome. She's awesome.
Yeah,
She comes from, like, talk about circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Family lineage, going back to Ralph Lauren, her dad. Stud, double RL, founder, designer, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Yeah. He's her dad. Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. He'll
Love
be here
it.
tomorrow night.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's
Tomorrow night. It's going to be a good night.
he taught a lot of us the creative juices.
Saying
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Mm.
Jagger, let me ask you a question.
Right.
Can I do that?
Please.
How many of our stores have you been in?
One. Just this one.
Really?
I've been to the outside of the one that's in Palm Beach now, but it was closed when I was there, so I just saw it from the outside.
Okay. All right.
But I will tell you this. I still have, and I'll always save it, my favorite polo was the first line that you guys ever dropped, and it's this navy, kind of dark blue, and it has the little paws on it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It was from the first line, I'm
Alpha
pretty sure.
Po.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
I still
All right,
rock
so
it
when
every
you
now
walk
and then.
into our shop,
Yeah.
what's that emotional feeling for you? Like, what do you feel? I mean, I don't need you telling me something I want to hear.
Mm-mm.
And you could say to me like, oh, I feel a little weird, or I feel a little this, or whatever it might be. But like, how do you feel?
I mean, there's definitely an aura of masculinity, I think, when you walk in. The kind of this aura of, strength and power in a way. But there's a sleekness to it all that is very comforting as well. And as you kind of walk through the store, I mean, it's very, the spaces are open.
Yeah.
You got freedom to move. You got plants, which kind of bring you back to the outside, which I always think, like, when you're in New York and you're in this concrete jungle, you can actually get some view of plants. It kind of brings you into life more.
For sure.
I didn't realize this was your first store.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild to
Yeah.
me. Because that's right.
Yeah.
Like, so what's your favorite store? How many have you been to?
All of them except Denver.
Yeah, me too. Well, I've been to Denver, but yeah.
Yeah. My favorite store.
Actually, I haven't been to Denver since it's been done.
I mean, Detroit.
I haven't.
Detroit's pretty awesome.
Detroit's awesome.
It looked epic in the pictures.
It's got
I
that
mean, 2
30-foot high
stories, all
ceilings.
black. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Grayson is.
And how about where?
I don't. New Orleans.
New Orleans is sick too.
New Orleans
I mean,
is like maybe the most gorgeous, cutest. I don't know. I find New Orleans to be so beautiful.
Mm.
it is. Has history.
I got into a conversation recently with not someone who works with Grayson, but someone who works in a different industry, but a creative entrepreneurial person. And they were asking me about our stores and our vision, right? And they were questioning me a touch, which, fine, great. Like, I question all you want. I hope I'm not defensive. I hope I'm just opinionated. But I think the thing that I ultimately go back to is this like level of comfort, this level of when you walk in somewhere. We all have different taste levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may have a modern home. I may have a Victorian home. You may have a beach home. He may have a bungalow. This person might have a this. This person might have a that. Right? We all might like different things. Woodland, modern. Who knows, right?
Okay.
Whatever that may look like for you. But can we all relate to hopefully good taste, an element of classic,
Yeah.
and an element of modern,
Yep.
and how we mix that together,
Mm.
right? And then feeling comfortable, but not comfortable to the point where you're just going to be lazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Comfortable to the point where you don't feel ostracized, but comfortable to the point where you're excited,
Mm.
right? And that's like, those are emotional things. Is that music? Is that lighting? Is that decor? Is that the clothing? Is that the ceiling? Is that the color? Is that the artwork? It's every freaking thing.
Mm.
It truly is. But every place is so different too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of got to gear it. I mean, I think at least, and that's the hard part we have right now, probably with replicating. So we will always gear to where we are, not to change who we are, but to show who we are in the place appropriately. right? And so that'll be hard from like an expansion perspective. But past a certain number, and like if we get past that number, like, you know, maybe we shouldn't go past that number.
Well, almost reading back what you're saying, like you want to create something or a space that is not only first representative of Grayson as a brand, but then also kind of organic to the space that it is too, right? So each store has its own energy and vibe that is representative of the place that it's in.
100%. It's indigenous.
Yeah.
Are you going to go put modern in Charleston? No, that's not cool.
Right.
Right? Like if I went into Jackson Hole and I found a spot in the mountains that was near the Amangani and like was cut out of the whatever, like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Right?
It's pretty sick.
It would be sick.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Costa.
Yeah. Costa.
Just dig it out of the side of the hill.
It's happening.
Let's do it, baby
All
girl.
glass. Man, I love you, bro.
You have no idea how much I respect and love you, my man.
You're the best.
This guy, I don't know if anyone actually knows this. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but I don't know if I give a fuck either. So we started the company, and I make it out to be like we're just like equals and all this other shit. He put his own money in. Like he put his own dollar amount in, right? Paid for his equity. There was some in kind, whatever. It's not even important. That is remarkable.
Just believing in people. Like, it's what we were talking about earlier, you know? It's not like, the people, it's who you invest in. That's what I've always done, and I might have made mistakes along the way, but it's just like, you have your good friends, and if you believe in them and trust them and can talk about anything with them and feel non-judged and motivated at the same time, like, there's really nothing better than that. And it's an opportunity to continue to be with someone and grow with someone along the way. Yeah. Like, monetary value means nothing. Like, it's all about the opportunity you have to be with the people who you love, and your friends are ultimately family who you get to choose. Like, how powerful is that? Like, it's just, you get to choose who you want to spend your life with.
Dude, that's entirely true. I mean, but I keep going back to the point. I'm like, shit, man, I don't even know if I believed in me. You know, and that's the weirdest part. Like, that's the strangest part, like, around the whole thing. It's like, when other people are believing in you, but you can't even figure out how to believe in you.
That's why you keep pushing and keep getting better and growing. And there's
I
no
still don't know if I believe in myself, right? Honestly. Fuck. Oh, that's awful. Yeah. No, but it's like a constant grind.
And like, you do, though. We wouldn't be here if you didn't.
Yeah.
Of course, there's that, like, doubt in your head, in the back of your head, but
just
of course,
go get it.
The 80%, 90%, you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And you're right. He's the genius. I mean, he's the next Ralph Lauren, if not better, I think. It's crazy to hear that probably from you, because it's like hearing compliments, which he's not good at accepting compliments. Seriously, I love you to death, but it's like it's nice to have you in the chair. Like, we're showing.
It's more comfortable than your.
This respect to you, man. Like, everyone here right now is like all here because of you, and it's like we appreciate you and love you so much and honor you, and we're honored to have you on this podcast just to get a little peek into your life and your inspirational story, and now that others get to hear and hopefully grow from or learn from, and it's so meaningful. And these times when we get to chat as boys, as friends, like, that's rare. We all have our own lives, and we're going nonstop like crazy. So, like, this moment, just because we have a mic in front of us, I don't care. It's like I'm getting time with my boys, and we get to learn more about each other. That's a ceremony.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. Yeah, I mean, I love being with you, and I mean, I've talked about you a lot, but I mean, just look at this guy. I mean, flip. I mean, how do you make up a story where you get somebody who's an athlete, who looks great, who's cool, who's engaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know that.
So we have one last
Ooh,
point I'd like to hear your perspective
I'd
on.
love to.
The title of this podcast is called I Can Fly. And I'd like to hear what you feel that phrase means to you when you think of it in your head or say it out loud, or was there a time in your life where it's like, fuck, I feel like I can fly right now?
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is take fucking flight, right? And so, honestly, I feel like I'm flying every day. Is the truth.
Beautiful, man.
Is the truth. But I'm also lucky, man. Again, we've talked about this earlier. I'm fortunate. Like, I'm blessed. I don't know what the right word of saying it is, but we started our own company. We fly, man. We literally fly every flipping day. Doesn't mean our wings aren't clipped sometimes, or you take a flip and tumble, or whatever that looks like, right? You don't have a good landing. But, like, you're freaking going. I mean, it's always about taking flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can fly. When I stop flying is the minute I stop being me.
Amen.
Oh, that's
So
well
that
said.
right there.
Yeah.
Wow. For sure.
So,
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
No, that's epic.
So,
Thank you.
Right on, man.
thank you, brother.
Thanks for being here with us,
Yeah.
dude. Seriously.
Love you all.
Yeah, I love
You
you
know
too,
that.
brother.
Love you, brother.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right.